idea to see if we could incorporate specifically cricket powder into some sort of familiar food product to encourage people to start trying some edible insects into their diet.
Today on Across the Fence, a UVM student details her plans for a new snack food, one that includes crickets. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fran Stoddard. The University of Vermont recently held its annual Student Research Conference. The conference featured a variety of research projects, including several that focused specifically on Vermont.
I walk around the room and I see undergraduate students who are working with our Transportation Research Center, trying to understand, how to create a better infrastructure for Vermonters to get around the state. Or they're working with the state's beekeepers to understand how pesticides are impacting the pollen sources for the beehives. Or students who are working on water quality in Lake Champlain. Or another one who I just talked to who is looking at how technology and technology adoption is making the maple sugar industry more effective and efficient. And I think, these are students who are doing work directly relevant to the Vermont experience of not just the UVM community, but the broader community around the state.
More than 300 students presented their research at the conference. One student in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences has her sights set on getting her new snack food to market. Based on what she learned in classes about protein production, she's banking that customers will be interested in munching on her Mighty Bites, which utilize cricket powder to create nutritionally well-rounded snacks. We'll let her explain.
I mainly had the idea for my research when I found out more about current problems with protein production. For example, animal agriculture contributes to up to 17% of all greenhouse gas emissions, which is actually comparable to the total amount from transportation.
So Dahlia, as you're learning about these impacts, you and a partner had this idea.
Yeah.
What's the idea?
We had the idea to see if we could incorporate specifically cricket powder into some sort of familiar food product to encourage people to start trying some edible insects into their diet.
Cricket powder is a derivative of raising crickets as a food source?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, it's pretty efficient to raise crickets. They use very little water per pound of protein, which is much less than almost every other protein source, which most use hundreds of gallons.
What did it take to do this research, to know whether this cricket powder, this idea was going to be viable?
In fact, we really didn't even know. That's part of the reason I wanted to do my research. My main research question was if it was even possible to successfully incorporate cricket powder into a corn chip specifically is what I was most interested in.
What have you found out?
My main research goals were to develop a seasoning powder to add to the surface so that I can improve the flavor of them. And then also I wanted to find a ratio of cricket powder to masa harina, which is a common ingredient in corn chips, so that I could have acceptable texture. And then over the course of about 3 months, I spent time testing different ratios, I experimented with additional ingredients, tested different cooking methods, and I developed that seasoning powder. And then after many different additions and all sorts of failures, successes, I was actually able to develop a final chip, which I estimate to have about probably 7 grams of protein per serving. And I was overall able to improve the chip from a 6 out of 10 rating to a 9 out of 10 rating, which was based off sensory evaluations that I personally did on each batch.
You can't share the chips with me, and there's a reason for that you're the only one really that's been allowed to test them, and why is that?
I'm the only one who can try them because I do not have approval from the International Research Board. You have to have approval to make sure it's perfectly safe. So once I apply for approval from the IRB, I should be able to actually have people taste test, and from there I'll be able to really perfect my recipe once I have feedback from hopefully quite a few people.
What else is coming next?
If I want to sell the chips commercially, I will have to add some preservatives. So I'll need to look into how those will affect the flavor and adjust my research. So for my research, I really just tested many different variations of a recipe to try to see best. And then once the chips are on the market, I think it would be really great to expand the flavors to things like spicy nacho or sour cream and onion. Actually, the current flavor I developed is nacho lime. So I think it would be great to expand from that. And then, I've really enjoyed doing this research overall, so I think it would be cool to maybe even find a couple more recipes for something like a sweet dessert snack or maybe a savory puff of some sort. We have a logo. We're working on figuring out a business plan. My business partner is Vlad Perry. He is dual majoring in entrepreneurship and marketing over at SUNY Plattsburgh, and he has been wonderfully handling all of the business side of our company, Mighty Bites, through which we will be selling the product I developed. And he's been doing all sorts of market research. He's looking into the financials of starting this sort of company. It has definitely been a little bit of a process figuring out how we could start a company like this.
And you can help Dahlia and her business partner by responding to a short survey about insect-based snacks. We've put the QR code for her survey on the screen. Scan the code and complete the survey. You'll be supporting the research of 2 young entrepreneurs who are trying to bring a healthy and sustainable snack food to the market. There are a lot of choices when it comes to houseplants. Decisions about which plants to have, how many, and how best to display them are largely a matter of personal choice. But when it comes to caring for our indoor plants, it's best to follow the experts' advice. In today's Houseplant Hero segment, we learn about a big plant with big flowers.
Hi, I'm Judy Miro, a UVM Extension Master Gardener coming to you from the University of Vermont Greenhouses. And I'm here to help you become a houseplant hero by providing some guidance on caring for your houseplants. Today, our focus is on Hibiscus rosa sinensis, commonly referred to as the hibiscus. These are amazing tropical evergreen shrubs with an upright branch. Hibiscus has glossy, dark, green oval leaves. Large varieties of hibiscus flowers can grow up to 8 inches across, with ruffled trumpeted shaped blooms in pink, yellow, red, orange, and even multicolored. Less common varieties come with flowers in white and purple. Blooms are short-lived, lasting 1 to 3 days, but with a succession of blooms that should last for months. Caring for these tropical beauties is easy if you keep a few things in mind. If you have a window with a south exposure, you can grow the hibiscus with success. The plant needs a lot of light and a lot of warmth to thrive. You'll need to keep it in direct sun every day if you want it to grow and flower. Keep your hibiscus in really bright south or west window. Since we Vermonters deal with harsh winters, be sure to pull your plants back away from the window in winter to avoid cold drafts. We don't want any part of the plant to be touching the window or be close enough to catch a cold. Hibiscus prefer their soil to dry out between waterings to prevent any root rot. Water only when the top few inches of soil becomes dry. Use your fingers or an inexpensive moisture meter to check that the soil is dry. To get your hibiscus to flower, you'll need to fertilize your plant regularly besides giving it all that sunshine. Be sure you're feeding your plant every other week from early spring through late fall. A bloom boosting fertilizer would work best. Allowing your hibiscus to dry out too often might just open up the door to pests, like the spider mite. In order to get rid of these pests, place your plant in the sink or shower, as in this example, where we're cleaning off pests from an angel wing begonia. If the pest infestation is severe, go ahead and use a commercial insecticidal soap. Always be sure to read the directions carefully and completely before applying any pest control application. And remember to wear all the required safety gear, like safety glasses and rubber gloves. Hibiscus do just fine in regular potting soil mix. Springtime is best time to repot. If you find your roots are tightly wound when you go to repot, gently loosen up the roots when you do repot and place them in the pot that's one size larger. Since this hibiscus is a shrub, You might want to prune your houseplant back at some point to keep it shapely and in a size that's manageable for your home. Look to prune your hibiscus in late summer. This should also encourage flowering on new shoots. Be sure to maintain at least 3 main branches that are sturdy and upright. Hibiscus leaves will, on occasion, turn yellow and fall off. This is totally normal. However, if your plant has a lot of yellowing leaves, it's telling you it's stressed. Underwatering or pests are the likely cause, so pay attention to what your plant needs to keep it healthy. If you're experiencing flower buds dropping before they open, the likely cause is from a lack of water or insect infestation. Double flowering varieties can be a bit trickier to grow, and they do tend to drop a flower bud for no reason, so don't get frustrated. You might opt to grow the single flowering variety to begin with, so you'll have better success. If you like, you can bring your hibiscus outdoors for the summer months when the evening temperatures stay consistently above 50 degrees. Start them out in a shady spot and move them slowly into the sunshine for the rest of the summer. Move them back indoors in the early fall and be sure to hose them off before bringing them indoors to ensure you're not bringing any outdoor pests inside with them. It might also be a good idea to isolate them from other houseplants for a week or more to be sure. If needed, use your insecticidal soap to rid your plant of any critters. And as I said earlier, follow all directions and safety guidelines. Remember that by providing your plants with the conditions and care they need, you too can be a houseplant hero. For more information on houseplants or home gardens, visit the UVM Extension Master Gardener website and see our Garden Resources page. Or contact the Extension Master Gardener volunteers at the helpline. The phone number is on your screen. This is Extension Master Gardener Judy Miro wishing you happy growing.
Great advice. Our thanks to Judy and the Master Gardener program. And once again, thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.